Welcome back to Sports Call here on Tiger 95.9. We are live on Radio Row. It is in Tampa, Florida this year, SEC Media Days 2026. Ryan Lavoie, Tom Peavy, Brooks Childress with you here. We are pleased to be joined by Zac Blackerby, the host of Locked on Auburn. Zac, the time's greatly appreciated. How are you doing today?
Yeah, great. I was skeptical about Tampa as an SEC town. I love the layout here. I think they knocked it out of the park.
You know, Greg Sankey mentioned yesterday, Tampa becoming more of the fabric of the SEC day by day. I think that's a part of his planned takeover to try to enter into as many markets as possible. But Tampa did host a SEC basketball tournament a few years ago and going to host golf and some other sports, championship gymnastics coming up. So I'm a big Tampa guy, and you know why.
Sure.
But I'm glad everyone's having a good time. So what do you think about this Auburn team, Zac? I mean, and they're coming through here on this Tuesday on Radio Row, getting close to fall practice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like. I think there's a lot that you can kind of talk yourself into about all of these position rooms. I think the offensive line makes sense, but also it's a bunch of guys who've never played together before. They're having to do a whole lot to kind of build that group over the offseason. Running backs clearly make a lot of sense. Tight ends is fascinating. You know, obviously, Byrum Brown speaks for himself, and so do the receivers, but and then, obviously, the defense is going to be the same. But I think there's a lot about this team and about this roster that you can talk yourself into saying, okay, yeah, I see a path. I see a path to this working.
Quarterback, we know.
Sure.
Wide receivers, we know. Running backs, we know. The front.
Yeah.
Is that going to kind of be the difference maker with where Auburn goes as far as this offense works?
It's one of my biggest questions, for sure. You know, Alex Golesh talking a lot earlier in the week about Stanton Ramil, missed spring. And when they signed him, it really kind of felt like, okay, the goal is for him to be that left tackle from Michigan State. And then he misses time, and then Joe Simmons comes from JMU. We thought he'd be the right tackle, and now we saw him kind of get more reps at left tackle over the course of spring. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, but you need both of those guys to pan out. Derek Plaz seems to be the guy at left guard from Miami. Obviously, Cole Best, you know, Coach Golesh can't say enough nice things about Cole, and I talked to Byrum earlier today, and he was super bullish on Cole Best, and it seems like the other guy's going to be Cole Skinner. So I think they've got the idea of who they are. There might be some questions on who's at what tackle spot, but they still got to come together. I mean, we all know, like you can have 5 talented offensive linemen, but if they don't gel together, you know, you still got guys coming through.
Because that was going to be my follow-up, Zac, is that last year I felt the excitement level was palpable for the offensive line. Is it that it is very difficult to build cohesion when you're getting portal offensive linemen, or is it just been an Auburn problem the last couple of years? Can you actually have the offensive line be put together even if you're having to do it mostly portal?
Yeah, Daryl asked him that question in the electronic media room, like, what's that balance? Like, sure, immediately, like, you need bodies, you need guys who can play football for you, so you go to the portal. Like, what's the goal? Because clearly they got a lot of offensive linemen in this class. I think, you know, assuming they keep all these guys committed, I think we're really excited about the future. They've got some young guys that they really like. Kenneth McManus from Akron, Wilson Zierer from the high school ranks, Bear McCorder from the high school ranks. Like, there's a lot to be excited about with some of these young guys. So what's the goal and what's the balance? And he said the goal is to get guys in their third year, then be ready to kind of go on this offensive line. So the goal is high school, keep them here for 2 or 3 years, and then give them a chance to play and then hopefully go on to the league. But that takes time. But the idea makes sense. The previous guy said that too, and it just didn't work. So we'll see what happens here.
When you mentioned Coach Golesh talking in an electronic media room, he was talking about the competition between the offense and defense in the spring and going up against that DJ Durkin defense. What has been your inkling? What has been your what have you heard about that relationship that Golesh built there with his defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's competitive every single day. And look, I think what Golesh preaches, whether you want to call it culture, mindset, attitude, whatever, I think it kind of mimics what we've seen from a DJ Durkin defense and then a DJ Durkin coach team kind of at the end of the year last year, which is what, you know, a lot of traits of really good football teams are. Tough, disciplined, physical, and just finding ways to do what it takes to make your team better. So, I mean, you can say that about a lot of elite teams, and you look at the top of it. And, look, that's not what Auburn had on the offensive side of the ball, whether it was during the potato famine with Harsin, whether it was the last few years with Hugh Freeze. So hopefully this mindset and culture shift is big because I do think it's closer to DJ Durkin.
I know that defense lost some key guys, but you got some good guys coming back. Do you think this defense can be as elite as it was last year? Because, I mean, they didn't even give up 24 points in a game until, Vandy? Can they be to that level again to maybe match what we hope is going to be a high-powered offense?
Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't think it's their fault. I think last year teams that were playing against Auburn, especially down the stretch there, they knew, okay, once we get to 17 points, like, we're probably fine. Auburn's not going to be able to come back. And so I do think some of these teams that played this defense at points were like, let's just not turn the ball over. Let's burn clock. Let's just try to, if we can't score, let's set up the field position game. And that did result in Auburn not allowing a lot of points. And so I think the offense is going to score more. And so that is going to put more pressure on the defense. Not in the sense of like, hey, you have to carry this team in order for us to win, but pressure in the sense of, all right, holding a 14-0 lead looks different defensively. They're going to pass more. They're going to run more tempo. They're going to throw more at you. And I do think a DJ Durkin system puts a lot of pressure on its corners. I think that's going to be something that kind of pops up too. Also have a lot of questions about the pass rush. Like, we can say all these names that make sense, but like, you did lose your 2 edge guys to the NFL. Like, that does count for something.
We were talking earlier today with Champ Anthony. He was talking about how much he loves to pop people. And
Sure.
He's also been somebody that has moved around a lot in that defense. And so when you lose, as Tom was referring to, several of these defensive backs to really quality schools in the portal, Champ is one of the more experienced, despite his injuries, guys in terms of playing for DJ Durkin's defense. How important would someone like him be versus the other options they're going to have in that defensive backfield?
I think Champ is fascinating. Like, I think when you look at skill set, it screams nickel to me. But Sylvester Smith is a proven guy there. Fagans is a proven guy there. You could put Winters there if you really wanted to. Golesh talked about the positional versatility of Blake Woodby playing outside corner and scooting into nickel. It's like, I don't know if that makes sense for the betterment of the team to put Champ there. Then when you talk about safety, you talk about the positional versatility of a lot of those guys, as well as Winters and Fagans, and you can move Sylvester Smith over there. Caleb Harris is a longtime starter. I don't know if that makes sense. I think corner makes a ton of sense, but we haven't seen that, because he didn't go through spring, and it sounds like Champ's been asked a lot by different folks, like, where are you playing, and he hadn't really, given a solid answer. He talks about how it depends on matchups. So I don't know. I don't know where I'd put him at corner, but that's not, I'm not DJ Durkin.
No. Looking at this schedule, obviously, you don't want to jump too far ahead of Baylor.
Oh, sure we can. We're not playing.
Yeah, but just, if Auburn doesn't somehow lay an egg in those games that they really should win, it really sets up for that Florida game. I mean, how big? I know, I get it. It's the two new coaches go head-to-head, but it feels like that Florida game could be the difference between Auburn winning 6, 7, maybe even 8 games.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like that game is just so vitally important.
Yeah, and it's so early. Like, you have a hard time seeing a path to 8 if you lose it. Right? And I'm not saying you couldn't, figure things out against Vandy and Tennessee and get right back on track there, but yeah, it's crucial. I also think it's going to be a little bit symbolic, right? I mean, you talk about the coaching drama between the two, and I think that's going to be something. But, yeah, to me, it's going to be huge if you win it for sure. But I think a lot of the magnitude of that win will be because if you lose it, it could be devastating.
Yep.
And Zach, just thinking about the season as a whole, it's another one of those deals where you feel like you can put it into thirds, and the first third is very doable. Here's your opportunity to get off to a great start. The second third is hold on to your butts. And then the final third is take care of some business and then get to the Iron Bowl. If they are able to get to off to this good start, and they beat Florida and they get to Vandy and they're 4-0 after Vandy, what would be the management level of expectations? Because then you have your Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss grouping. So, I mean, again, do you start thinking the big thoughts because you're 4-0, or do you need to beat Tennessee to start thinking big thoughts? Was just on the optimistic route there?
Yeah. If this culture kicks in like Golesh wants it to, what your record is not going to impact how this team plays. That's the goal. These are still young kids, emotional kids, and they have more access to information and voices now than they ever have. So I don't know how possible that is. So the middle fourth is what? Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss,
Georgia.
Georgia. So I did a show yesterday. They made me do the predictions. There's 0-4 is totally possible in that stretch. I'm not predicting it, but it's not impossible. Is it the most likely? I don't know, but it is a scenario there. And so if you go 4-0 and then you look up and you go 0-4, all right, what does that last third look like? And I think 3-1 is totally reasonable in that stretch. And so that turns into 7-5, probably the most boring 7-5 you could possibly have. And that's what all the analytics are saying. Whether you look at FBI, whether you look at what the books are saying, they're saying around 7 wins. And so if that's what it looks like, I'm interested to see what the fan response would be for that.
He is Zac Blackerby, the host of the Locked On Auburn podcast. Zac, we appreciate the time today. Again, for our listeners, and I'm sure some of them are crossovers. Again, how can you find your podcast, and what all have you been up to this week?
Yeah, Locked On Auburn, available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Would love to see y'all there. Talk to John Cohen, talk to Byrum Brown, talk to a few SEC folks. So, a lot of stuff dropping throughout the week.
He is Zac Blackerby, again, host of Locked On Auburn podcast. Zac, we appreciate the time today.
Thanks, guys.